Hey neighbor, new year, new season of 7 on Sunday. I wanted to start it off with a puzzler of sorts, cause I don't know about you guys, but it drives me up the wall insane when I hear a song and can't figure out who it is, but I know it, I just can't name it. Now before you get carried away, this is not a list of one-hit wonders, as in names most people wouldn't recognize. To me, this topic is even more interesting because outside of these bands having their loyal fans, the general public would almost definitely not know the band name even though they would probably recognize a handful of songs. If you're still confused, don't worry, it'll make more sense once you've hit the like button, and of course once I get the list underway. And I know, some of you are gonna be screaming, how could people not know that? Everyone back in my day knew that. And your anger over people's lack of knowledge is fine, I suppose, but please don't be a dick about it.
I want something else to get me through this.
When I tell you Third Eye Blind were massive in the late 90s, I don't know if you fully understand the magnitude of how popular their songs had become. Their 6 times platinum selling self-titled album landed in 1997, and that was the ignition switch the world had been waiting for. Semi-Charmed Life, Jumper, How It's Going to Be, Graduate, the band had more hits on that one album than some major label bands have their entire career. If I started singing, I wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend, 9 out of 10 music fans would finish the lyric. They exploded brighter than the sun, but also subsequently imploded partially after that, and a lot of that had to do with the rift between frontman Stephen Jenkins and lead guitarist Kevin Cadigan. The band pretty much hated each other at this point, and while Jenkins carried on the Third Eye Blind name in the decades following this despite a ton of lineup changes, the band never struck gold again the way they did in 1997. I absolutely love their self-titled album, but it's hard to not say that it was lightning in a bottle. Most of you probably recognize the band name and could probably even sing along to some of their biggest hits, but the relationship stops there for most, making them a band that you know, but don't really know. Before we continue on, I wanted to take a second to thank Picky for sponsoring this video. If you're a fellow human with strong opinions about music, Picky is the app that lets you be the critic. Think of it like Tinder, but for music. They generate short song clips, you hit it with a like, dislike, or even a super like. Your super likes stick together in a playlist on YouTube or Spotify, so you can come back and rediscover more later. Rewards are also a big part of the experience. Every time you level up just by listening to music, you can get everything from a customized playlist to even $1 payment through Venmo. Download the app for free at the link in the description. They've got a cool thing going, and it always helps me out when you guys check out the sponsors, so thank you. Depending on what part of the world you're in, you might totally disagree with this pick, but the long-running metal band Dragonforce roar in at number 6, and I think you know why. Thanks in no small part to the lore surrounding Through the Fire and Flames and its extreme difficulty on a certain rhythm game, the reputation for power meets thrash metal stylings with gargantuan guitar solos gained them worldwide recognition and a series of popular albums in Japan and the UK. Guitars are what this band is known for, and it's wild to me how the legend of Flames continues to blow the minds of new generations despite breaking out in the mid-2000s. But that longevity is obviously not why I put them here. They made the cut because I think more people recognize the work of their guitarists Herman Lee and Sam Totman, with Lee in particular having a large following on his own. Dragonforce is one hell of a name. It grabs your attention and clearly sticks to the public's subconscious, but that's it right there, subconscious, meaning they're not really an everyday playlist type of band, even for a lot of casual metalheads. Decades ago, naming your emo band American Football might have seemed like the perfect middle finger to what a band with that sound should be named, but despite their status as that album cover with The House and a reputation for sad boy hours times infinity, maybe the SEO wards off new fans because they're essentially competing for rank against 2 very popular sports. Hey Google, play American Football.
Okay, I'll play Tom Brady Best Moments Compilation Super Bowl Edition.
You've seen countless memes about never meant, and you've definitely spotted a "what if we kissed in the American football house" at some point in your doom scrolling, but there's obviously more to it than this, right? Well, for a long time, no. One and Done, a studio-only band that dipped out after a legendary Midwest emo debut in 1999, it took another 17 years for the members to recollect themselves to record another LP, this time sticking it out for the long haul and bringing their intimate brand of sadness with a new grain of aged wisdom. Despite some shifts in the crew, Mike Kinsella continues to tear at the tattered heartstrings of the world as a leader without answers, and I mean that in a good way. Nothing ever feels forced with them. It's their beautifully refined music that makes looking inward a little bit less terrifying.
Sometimes all I think about is you. Late nights in the middle of June.
Of all the bands in all the world, Glass Animals becoming the mainstream crossover success story of the 2020s would not be on my bingo card. If anything, I thought the hype would have peaked around Gooey all the way back in 2014, since it was their first real taste of success, but thanks to a steady word of mouth and the virality of their online content, they wormed their way all the way in. Consistency was key as the English band formed back in 2010, touring the world multiple times as buzz started generating around their weird, psychedelic rhythms and nonsensical lyrics that dripped honey into the ear of every college radio DJ with a hard-on for indie. Those walls could only hold them for so long before the buzz turned into a full-on swarm, but it wasn't some overnight inspirational success story on Lifetime, just years of grinding without a single lineup change, slowly stacking up new fans like Jenga blocks, except the tower never fell. It climbed to the sky, coinciding with the release of Dreamland in 2020. I've never really been a fan, but I do respect the hustle. They've dropped some undeniable bangers, and if the long-running success of Heatwaves has anything to say about their future, they might just stay on the radar permanently to become a household name.
Kiss me beneath the milky twilight, lead me.
Here in Gone with the Wind was Sixpence None the Richer, a defining staple of the turn of the millennium, responsible for massive hits like Kiss Me, Breathe Your Name, and of course their covers of Don't Dream It's Over and There She Goes. Sixpence went from unknown Christian rock band to festival headliners in the blink of an eye, and no one, including the band, saw that level of success coming. This is the second band on the list with a platinum-certified self-titled album released in 1997, which should remind everyone that the 90s turned out a lot of bands like that, but that doesn't mean that they weren't good. To this day, their songs can still be heard in malls, waiting rooms, grocery stores, or on the phone if you're unlucky enough to get left on hold with your internet company. But unlike most of that rubbish that you'd rather leave in the past instead of running into in the produce aisle, the sweetness of their tunes still manages to cut through the noise and turn a smile.
Much of a girlfriend. I never seem to get a lot. What she got? Not a lot. We'll take a jumbo across the water. Like to see America. I'll see the girls in California. I'm hoping it's going to come true.
75% of you have done this, and don't even lie to me. If you've done it, you know. You hear a familiar old song, you ask out loud, wait, who is this? I know this, only to learn that it is indeed Supertramp, the alpha and omega of modern music. Okay, maybe it's not every song, but it definitely feels that way sometimes, because for me, and I'm sure plenty of you too, I'm not an aficionado of Supertramp, so when I do encounter them in the wild, the gears start turning in my head trying to figure out where I know this from. The British band were massive throughout the 70s and 80s, finessing their style all the way from prog rock to synth pop without even missing the charts. Supertramp peaked in popularity with Breakfast in America, which should be a recognizable album cover. But beyond the iconic artwork, you tend to forget just how many recognizable melodies they packed in there. Music from their heyday has been sampled, remixed, covered, and back again, so much like Bob Dylan, who had so many of his works reimagined, people often fail to credit them for their consistent innovations in style and sound. So here's to you, Supertramp. Go shuffle their most popular songs on streaming and tally up just how many light bulbs go off in your head.
He's going the distance. He's going for speed. She's all alone.
Have your cake and eat it too. They wouldn't want it any other way, so when you hear the starting pistol, get ready to name that tune.
Reluctantly crouched at the starting line, engines pumping and thumping in time.
Did you guess it yet?
Love 'em or hate 'em, Cake are not here to impress you. They're here to lay it down with their signature deadpan vocal delivery, ironic commentary, uncanny brass, and a whole lot of groove that seem to translate better to singles than it did to full-length albums. Cake are not gonna be for everyone, but damn it, they're a fun group that always seem to slip through the cracks in conversation, but it's such a simple band name. Maybe too simple, so it gets tossed around like a tender heart in a blender before you eventually cave and Shazam it before burying your head in your palm because you knew that you definitely knew that. That's a wrap on the first episode of SOS for 2022. Please share this out with a friend and hit that like button and subscribe if you're new in town because that really does help out immensely. If you want to check out another episode like this, then hit the card on screen or check out my movie and TV channel right over here. All of my socials are in the description, and I'll be back soon with more on ARTV.